Ladies, there comes a time when the strongest move isn't begging someone to stay, it's walking away without a word. Today, I want to talk about why erasing him from your life will make him realize his biggest mistake. When you stop reaching out, when you stop trying to explain yourself or make him see your value, you give him the one thing he never expected: silence. And that silence, though quiet to the world, speaks volumes to the heart that once took you for granted. It's easy to underestimate the power of no response. After all, we're taught that love fights, love explains, love gives second chances. But sometimes love has to do the hardest thing. It has to step back. When you remove yourself from the conversation, from the conflict, from the chaos, you shift the power dynamic in a way that forces him to face the consequences of his choices. In the beginning, he might not notice. He might think it's just another phase, another attempt to get his attention. But as the days stretch out and the silence grows heavier, it becomes harder for him to pretend that your absence doesn't matter. Every missed call that doesn't come, every message that isn't sent, every birthday or milestone you let pass without a word, each moment adds weight to the silence. He begins to wonder why you haven't reached out. He might scroll through your old messages or look at pictures you once took together, trying to understand what changed. But it wasn't one single event. It was a slow build-up of being unheard, unseen, and unappreciated, until finally you chose peace over noise. What makes silence so powerful is that it creates space. Not just physical space, but emotional space. In that space, he starts to reflect. And in that reflection, he sees a version of you he didn't fully recognize when you were still present. He starts to remember how it felt to have someone who genuinely cared. Someone who loved him in ways he didn't even realize he needed. Without your voice guiding him, without your support holding him up, he begins to feel the emptiness of what he thought he could live without. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to him all the ways he failed to cherish you. People often think closure comes from conversations, from long talks where everything is laid out on the table. But real closure comes when you stop needing to explain, when you stop chasing understanding. Silence becomes your boundary, your healing tool, your final word. It protects you from reopening wounds that were never meant to be reopened. It allows you to grieve, to process, and to rebuild without his interference. And while he may not admit it out loud, your absence will linger in his mind. He'll wonder if you ever think of him. He'll wonder if you've already moved on. And that wondering, that uncertainty, is where the regret begins to grow. He'll try to distract himself, maybe with friends, maybe with someone new. But distraction is temporary. Eventually, the night gets quiet, the crowd fades, and he's left with nothing but his own thoughts. And that's when your silence will hit him the hardest. Because he'll remember that you were the one who listened, the one who stayed up late trying to understand him, the one who saw his flaws and still chose to love him anyway. And now that love is gone. Not because you stopped loving, but because you finally started loving yourself more. There's something incredibly dignified about walking away without a fight, about choosing not to engage in a war of words or emotions. It shows strength, self-respect, and deep inner peace. And the truth is, nothing confuses a person more than a woman who refuses to argue. A woman who simply chooses silence instead of drama, because it means she's no longer trying to prove her worth. It means she knows it. So when you decide to stop talking, when you choose to delete the messages you'll never send and ignore the urge to check his page or revisit old memories, you're not being cold. You're healing. You're taking your power back in the most graceful way possible. And believe it or not, that silence, the one he never thought would come, will eventually become the loudest message he ever received. And when someone is always available, always present, always within reach, it's easy to take their presence for granted. That's the unfortunate truth of human nature. We often don't realize the value of something until it's gone. And that's exactly what happens when you finally remove yourself from someone's life. When you stop calling, stop texting, stop showing up for the conversations and moments you thought would always include you, a strange shift begins to happen. The space you once filled so effortlessly, so lovingly, starts to feel hollow. And that's when he begins to notice the absence. That's when the value of who you are truly begins to rise. In the beginning, he may brush it off. He may think you're just giving him space or playing a game. But as time goes on and you remain gone, your silence becomes more than a moment. It becomes a message. The absence becomes real. And that's when he starts to remember all the little things he once overlooked. The way you used to ask about his day even when you were tired. The way you supported his dreams even when he didn't believe in himself. The laughter you brought into his dull moments. The comfort of knowing someone had his back no matter what. All of those things, once dismissed as ordinary, begin to shine in their absence. This is how absence creates value. When you're gone, he has to live in the silence of what used to be. And in that silence, he is forced to confront just how much of his world was made better because you were in it. He begins to feel the weight of your absence. Not because he misses having someone, but because he misses you. You specifically. The way you showed up, the energy you brought, the emotional presence you offered without ever asking for anything in return. People tend to remember the ones who were consistently kind to them, even when they didn't deserve it. They remember the softness that greeted them after a long day, the patience that forgave their mood swings, the loyalty that stood firm even when everything else felt uncertain. When you erase yourself, you're not punishing him. You're reminding him of everything he had and failed to appreciate. He might have thought you'd always be there, that you'd always forgive, that no matter how he treated you, you'd stay. But when you leave and truly don't look back, he realizes that love like yours wasn't a given, it was a gift. And he let it slip through his fingers. At first, he might try to convince himself that he's fine, that he's unbothered. He might even try to fill the void with distractions, parties, friends, maybe even someone new. But deep down, those are just temporary fixes. Eventually, those distractions fade. The noise quiets down, and what he's left with is the emptiness of your absence. That's when your value begins to echo louder than ever before. Because when you were there, he never had to miss you. But now, you're all he thinks about. And the reason your value rises in your absence is simple. You gave him what no one else did. You gave him consistency, honesty, care, love, time. Things that are rare. Things that are often only seen clearly when they're no longer being given. People start to measure their loss not by the arguments they had or the things they didn't say, but by the warmth they can no longer feel. They remember how someone made them feel safe, seen, and significant. That's what you were. And now that you're gone, it hits harder than he ever thought it would. He may start comparing others to you, wondering why he doesn't feel the same spark, the same peace. He may reach out, trying to rekindle what he lost. But what he won't easily admit is that your absence made him realize your true worth. You were never just another person passing through his life. You were a presence, a grounding force. And now that you're no longer there, he understands what he had. What's powerful is that this realization doesn't require you to do anything. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to explain your side or wait for him to come to his senses. You simply live your life. You continue growing, healing, and moving forward. And as your life gets brighter without him, the shadow of your absence grows darker in his world. That contrast, the one between your peace and his regret, is where the truth sits. He'll come to understand that losing you wasn't just a breakup. It was the loss of someone irreplaceable. And that's the thing about real love. You can't just replicate it. You can't plug someone else into the space someone once held and expect the same warmth, the same understanding, the same connection. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how many people he meets, he will always remember how you made him feel. And that feeling, that's your value. That's the part of you that no one can replace. And now, in your absence, it's the part of you that he'll miss the most. When you remove yourself from someone's life without explanation, without drama, and without trying to prove a point, you make one of the strongest statements you ever could. You show that you are irreplaceable. In a world where people are constantly chasing attention and validation, your quiet disappearance speaks louder than any confrontation. It says you are no longer willing to fight for a place in someone's life who couldn't see your worth when you were right in front of them. And the truth is, people often don't realize the rarity of a real, consistent, loyal heart until they're forced to live without it. That's when the reality starts to hit. You weren't just another person passing through, you were the one. At first, he may think he'll be fine. He may believe he can move on, find someone else, replace the space you left with new company, new energy, new attention. But what he doesn't understand in the beginning is that there is no replacement for authenticity. You can't copy and paste genuine connection. You can't substitute real emotional depth with temporary amusement. Slowly, the illusion fades. And he starts to notice the difference. He starts to see that no matter how many people come and go, no one brings the same light you did. No one listens with the same patience, smiles with the same softness, or challenges him with the same fire. Because you were the kind of person who made him feel seen in his worst moments and celebrated in his best. You knew how to comfort him without words, how to stand by him when things got hard. You were his safe place. And now that you're gone, he begins to feel the weight of that loss, not just emotionally, but spiritually. There's a certain kind of peace that comes with being loved, right? And now he realizes he had it all along. The late night talks, the inside jokes, the way you remembered the smallest details about him. It wasn't just love, it was intention. And now every interaction he has without that depth feels shallow. He'll try to tell himself that you're replaceable. He might even say it out loud, hoping it will become true. But inside, he knows better. Because as the days pass, the memory of how you made him feel will haunt the empty spaces of his life. He'll start comparing, even if he doesn't want to. And comparison, when it comes to something real, always ends in disappointment. No one else will know how to love him the way you did, not because they're not enough, but because you were unique. You loved him in a language that was yours alone, and now that language has gone silent. You didn't leave to teach him a lesson, you left to protect your heart, and in doing so, you taught him the biggest lesson of all. Not everyone is replaceable. Your absence becomes the evidence. Every time he thinks of something funny and reaches for his phone, only to remember you're no longer there, every time he wants to share a win and realizes the one person who would have been proud is gone, it sinks in deeper. You were the one who showed up when no one else did, the one who believed in him when even he couldn't, the one who stayed solid when life got messy. And that kind of presence doesn't just fade, it echoes. And what stings the most is that you didn't beg, you didn't plead for him to change or see you differently. You simply stopped trying. You let your actions speak and your absence say the rest. There's a particular strength in walking away without bitterness. It shows that your value doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from knowing what you bring. And when you carry that kind of quiet confidence, it lingers in the minds of those who lost you, because you weren't just part of his life, you made it better. Now every attempt to fill your place falls short, because what he lost wasn't just a partner, it was a rare soul. Eventually, he will have to face the truth. He'll realize he mistook your loyalty for weakness, your patience for passiveness, your love for something that would always be there. And by the time he sees you moving on, glowing in your growth, loving yourself louder than ever, he will understand. He'll realize that while he was searching for temporary excitement, he let go of something timeless. You were never just an option. You were the one who gave him everything without asking for anything but love and respect in return. And now, as he looks back and sees you thriving without him, he'll feel the sharp sting of regret, not because you left, but because he didn't hold on when he had the chance. And no matter how hard he tries, he'll never be able to find another you. That's the power of being irreplaceable, not in words, not in effort, but in presence. And now that you're gone, he finally sees it. He finally understands. But by then, it's already too late. Healing in private is a powerful choice. one that speaks volumes without ever having to utter a word. When you walk away from someone and choose not to explain, not to confront, and not to broadcast your pain, you are doing something that most people aren't prepared for. You're showing them strength they never expected. Most people anticipate drama. They anticipate one final message, one last emotional outburst, one more chance to justify or defend their behavior. But when you go silent and begin healing on your own without a scene, you take back control in the most unexpected way. You deny them the emotional chaos they thought they could handle, and instead you give them emptiness. That emptiness is where it begins. At first, he might not notice it. He might think you're just giving it time, maybe waiting for him to come around, to apologize or to check in. But the silence stretches, the days turn into weeks, and you don't reach out. You don't ask for closure. You don't chase understanding. And that's what begins to eat at him. Because closure for someone who hurt you often serves as comfort for them, not healing for you. It's a way for them to feel like things ended on good terms, even if they didn't treat you right. But by walking away without explanation, you deny him that comfort. He's left with questions, with silence, with the uncomfortable realization that you didn't just walk away, you closed the door quietly and locked it from your side. There is nothing more haunting than being shut out by someone who once loved you deeply and now chooses peace over explanation. You used to argue, cry, try to fix things. Now you do none of that. You simply exist without him. And your quiet presence, or more accurately, your absence, becomes a weight he carries every single day. He may not talk about it. He may act like he's unbothered. But the truth is, your ability to move on in silence becomes the loudest reminder of what he lost. Because you're not healing loudly, seeking pity or attention, you're rebuilding. And the beauty of that is something he can't interrupt. While he may have expected you to fall apart, to need him, to beg for clarity, you did the opposite. You started to love yourself again. You started focusing on your own energy, your own growth. You filled the silence, not with his voice, but with your own inner peace. And in doing so, you created a space where he no longer has access. That is something he will feel in every attempt to find your energy elsewhere. Because once a woman chooses to heal in silence, she becomes unreachable in a way that makes men realize just how far gone she really is. There's a unique kind of pain in watching someone you once hurt glow without you. And even if he doesn't say it, even if he never admits it, he watches, he checks in silence. He wonders how you're doing it, how you look better, seem happier, shine brighter. And the answer is simple. You're no longer carrying the weight of someone who never saw your worth. You put that weight down and picked up peace. That kind of transformation is not only powerful, it's permanent. Because when you heal privately, you're not performing for the world. You're not trying to prove anything to him or to anyone else. You're doing it for you. This type of healing stings more than any argument ever could because it provides no opening. When you fight with someone, when you scream or send long messages, there's always a door slightly open, a chance to walk back through. But when you heal in silence, you close that door with grace and finality. You don't wait around for apologies or explanations. You don't check your phone hoping he'll say something that will make it all make sense. You accept what is and you let go of what was. That acceptance is what will haunt him. Not your words, not your pain, but your peace. You'll think back to the moments you used to try, to the way you used to fight for the relationship, and now there's just stillness. That stillness is unfamiliar, uncomfortable, because it tells him that you've chosen yourself over the connection, that you've realized he was never worth losing your sanity for. And when you reach that point, when your silence becomes your sanctuary, there's nothing he can do to reverse it. That's what makes it so powerful. That's why it hurts him more than confrontation ever could. In the end, healing in private isn't about revenge. It's not about making someone suffer. It's about reclaiming your energy, your dignity, and your peace. And while he may never admit it, he will feel it. Every time he thinks about how you just walked away and never looked back, he will feel it. Every time he wonders if you ever think of him and realizes he'll never know the answer, he will feel it. And that feeling, the one he never expected, will be the cost of taking you for granted. Because your healing, done in silence, will be the sound that echoes longest in his regret.